She's Hollywood's eternal ray of sunshine, that golden laugh, those sparkling eyes, the magnetic charm that's made Goldie Hawn a household name for more than 50 years. From Private Benjamin to Overboard, audiences have adored her warmth and wit, seeing her as the embodiment of kindness and joy. But beneath that dazzling smile lies a steely core few have truly seen. A woman who has spent decades navigating Hollywood's power games with grace, intelligence, and an unbreakable moral compass. Behind the laughter, there have been battles, quiet ones. And today, we're uncovering the 5 actors who, according to insiders, managed to push America's sweetheart to her limit. These aren't petty rivalries or media rumors. They're the kind of professional clashes that reveal who someone really is when the cameras stop rolling. So, how did 5 of Hollywood's most famous men end up on the wrong side of Goldie Hawn? Let's start with the one who tested her patience like no one else. Number 1, Chevy Chase, the co-star who took the joke too far. On screen, they were electric. Foul Play, the 1978 comedy thriller starring Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase, was a massive box office hit. Over $50 million earned glowing reviews, and a partnership that seemed to promise a new golden duo in film comedy. But what the public never saw was how difficult that partnership truly was. Multiple sources who worked on the film later described the production as a test of Goldie's patience and professionalism. Chase, fresh from Saturday Night Live and riding the wave of sudden stardom, was reportedly late to set constantly. Hours would pass before he appeared, leaving crew members and Goldie waiting. For someone like Hawn, who prided herself on discipline and respect for everyone's time, this wasn't just irritating. It was disrespectful. And when the cameras did roll, the tension didn't stop. Crew members recall Chase giving unsolicited notes to Goldie between takes, suggesting alternate line readings or comedic timing adjustments, even though she was already an Academy Award-winning actress. It created this weird undercurrent. One crew member reportedly said, "You could feel it in the air. She was trying to stay light and professional, but his behavior was chipping away at that energy she's known for." The final straw came during a late-night scene that had already taken hours to perfect. Director Colin Higgins called it he was satisfied, but Chevy wasn't. He loudly pushed for another take, claiming Goldie had missed a beat. Goldie stayed composed, finishing the day with her trademark smile. But later, she vented privately to her agent. "I love the character, not the man." Years later, when asked if she'd ever work with Chase again, she was gracious but unmistakably firm. "He's very talented. His timing is perfect. But sometimes perfect timing isn't everything if you're not aware of anyone else in the room. It's a masterclass in Hollywood diplomacy. But make no mistake, Goldie never forgot. And though they've exchanged polite smiles at public events, those who know her say she's quietly made sure their paths don't cross again. Because for Goldie Hawn, talent is meaningless if it comes without respect. Number 2, Bill Murray, the star she refused to work with. Unlike Chase, Goldie never even shared a set with Bill Murray, and that was entirely her choice. Throughout the 80s and early 90s, both were at the peak of their comedic powers. Studios pushed repeatedly for them to team up. In fact, they came close to working together on at least 3 separate films. Every time, Goldie walked away. Her reason? A reputation that preceded him. Goldie was known for doing her homework before saying yes to any project. She asked around directors, actors, even production assistants. And what she heard about Murray made her deeply uncomfortable. Stories from sets like What About Bob? And Ghostbusters had already circulated in industry circles long before the tabloids got hold of them. Tales of erratic mood swings, verbal blow-ups, and dismissive treatment toward female crew members. During What About Bob, one young production assistant reportedly made a scheduling mistake. Murray berated her publicly until she broke down in tears. When another woman defended her, he turned his anger on her too. Word of those incidents spread fast, and Goldie listened. "I don't do bullies," she reportedly told her agent. "Charming one minute, cruel the next. That's not my kind of funny." And this was years before #MeToo. decades before Hollywood began holding powerful men accountable for their on-set behavior. At a time when many actresses felt pressured to look the other way, Goldie quietly drew a line. She didn't preach, she didn't grandstand, she simply said no. And as history would show, her instincts were right. Over the years, reports of Murray's volatility continued. Clashes with directors like Harold Ramis, public arguments, and even a production shutdown in 2022 due to complaints about his behavior. Goldie never commented publicly. When asked once in an interview why she'd never worked with Murray, she smiled and said, "Sometimes the right project just doesn't come along." A gentle smile, hiding an unspoken truth. She knew exactly who she didn't want in her orbit. Number 3. Donald Sutherland, the intellectual who crossed a line. Donald Sutherland's brilliance as an actor has never been in question. He's revered, respected, a man who can quote philosophy as easily as he can deliver an Oscar-worthy performance. But for Goldie, brilliance means little without kindness. Back in the 1970s, Goldie became close friends with actress Jill Clayburgh, who was then filming with Sutherland. She visited the set several times, and what she witnessed left her unsettled. Sutherland, according to those who worked with him, had a habit of using his intelligence as a weapon. He'd reference obscure authors, quote Nietzsche or Sartre, and then look disappointed when someone didn't follow. For the men, it was irritating. For the women, it was something else, a kind of intellectual intimidation. Clayburgh, a Yale graduate herself, initially sparred with him playfully, but when she began challenging his interpretations, Sutherland's demeanor reportedly turned icy. He'd interrupt her mid-sentence or mock her opinions in front of the crew. One day, he publicly criticized her take on a character, lecturing her about missing the existential foundation of the role in front of everyone. Clayburgh was humiliated. Goldie, who witnessed it firsthand, was livid. "That man has the emotional warmth of a marble statue," she told a friend later that night. "No one deserves to be treated that way." She vowed never to work with him, and she didn't, not once, even when they were both considered for major roles in the same projects years later. What's most striking is that Sutherland never wronged her personally. Goldie's issue wasn't ego, it was empathy. She couldn't stand seeing a friend diminished. As one longtime associate put it, Goldie protects people, especially women. If she sees someone being talked down to, she'll remember it forever. That's the side of her the public rarely sees, not the bubbly blonde, but the quietly fierce guardian beneath the laughter. Number 4, Mel Gibson, The Bridge Too Far. By the 2000s, Goldie Hawn had earned the right to be selective. She'd conquered every corner of Hollywood and built a career on her terms. So when her name came up for a romantic comedy opposite Mel Gibson, she didn't hesitate. She said no. This time, it wasn't personal. It was moral. In 2006, Gibson's infamous DUI arrest and the anti-Semitic remarks that followed shocked the world. For Goldie, it struck a chord. Her father's family were Jewish immigrants, and while she's never been overtly religious, that heritage mattered deeply to her. When she read the reports of Gibson's comments, remarks filled with hatred and ignorance, she was heartbroken. A close friend later recalled, "She couldn't separate the artist from the person. She told me, forgiveness is spiritual, but he never asked for it." The following year, when a studio offered her a major role opposite Gibson, Goldie turned it down flat. No drama, no public statement, just a quiet, immovable decision. At the time, many in Hollywood were still defending Gibson, claiming his words were a drunken mistake. Goldie didn't buy it. "There's a difference between a mistake," she told a confidant, "and a revelation of character." That was that. She's remained polite but distant in social settings, never confronting him, never gossiping, just choosing silence as her protest. And perhaps that's what makes her stance even more powerful. She didn't cancel him in the public square. She simply withdrew her light and moved on. Number 5. Steve McQueen, The Brief Encounter That Said It All. Some conflicts don't take years to unfold. Sometimes, one evening is enough. In the late 70s, Goldie's production team arranged a dinner meeting with Steve McQueen, the king of cool. They were considering co-starring in an action comedy together. His edge and her warmth could have made cinematic magic. But the dinner was a disaster. According to Goldie's close circle, McQueen barely looked her in the eye. He spoke over her, directed his attention to the male producers, and treated her creative suggestions as trivial. At one point, when she offered an idea for a key scene, an idea a producer immediately praised, McQueen cut her off. "Let's get the structure right before we worry about the little details." That sentence told her everything she needed to know. On the way home, she reportedly sighed and said, "He's intense, controlling, and weirdly angry about something I can't even name. I don't think this is going to work." She later summed it up perfectly. "He looked right through me, like I was invisible." For Goldie, respect is non-negotiable. If a man couldn't offer that at dinner, how could she expect it on set? The project was quietly scrapped. McQueen went on to make only 2 more films before his death in 1980. Goldie, meanwhile, continued her rise, one hit after another. Years later, colleagues who'd worked with McQueen confirmed what Goldie had sensed in that single evening: a controlling streak, a need to dominate, a difficulty sharing space. She had read him instantly. "She has an incredible radar for people," said one director who worked with her later. "She trusts her instincts, and they've saved her from a lot of grief."